What's the reaction on the ground going to be? Who is going to be here to take up the mantle of Trumpism, of MAGA world? I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were discussing the likelihood that Donald Trump might not survive this term. Naturally. I've talked a lot about the fact that, a human being cannot survive long when it is not blood that courses through your veins, but Big Mac sauce. Maybe he's got the Szechuan sauce from McDonald's from the 80s or the 90s coursing through there. Either way, not good, not a good outlook, not a good prognosis, if you will. So the conversation kind of led along the lines of what would happen if Donald Trump died, and not like what's going to be the continuation of government plan, and will the 25th Amendment be followed? Will there be squabbling amidst the administration? Will J.D. Vance step up and be the next dear leader? None of that, I think, is going to happen. I don't think J.D. Vance has what it takes to lead the unruly mob. Nor are those people interested in him being president of the United States. After all, he's got a brown wife and kids. White supremacy is a hell of a drug. But what would be the reaction of citizens? Would there be celebrations, impromptu wild parties in the street? Or would there be a solemn and reverent mourning of a nation? I think the answer is pretty obvious, but I think the question of, is Donald Trump going to survive? Maybe he'll survive to the end of the year, but is he going to survive through next year? There's a lot of questions about Donald Trump's health, and they're not going away anytime soon. And I postulate that the more tough guy he gets, the more egregious dictator he gets, the more cozying he is to the world's dictators. That's projection of how weak physically, emotionally, of course, mentally, of course, ethically, of course, morally, of course, but physically and health-wise, I think it signals a return of Donald Trump to the way he's been over the years, but in a new form. Projection, but for his health. He wants everybody to view him as vibrant, as healthy, as filled with vigor. And that's just not the case. Get a look at some of these headlines from the media. This one's a little bit more serious, this first one, and then it kind of devolves from there, because let me tell you, the Daily Beast has been having a go at Donald Trump. Here's the first one from The Independent. Trump's hand makeup has returned after questions about the president's health over swollen ankle sightings. A large patch of what appeared to be foundation in a lighter shade than his skin was clearly visible on his hand during President Trump's visit to an exhibit at the People's House Museum. These are all valid questions. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why we need transparency in government, especially surrounding the health of our president. Can we rely upon this person to lead the nation? Can we rely on this person to be making cogent thoughts and analysis based on the advice and counsel of those around him? I don't know that we can. I don't know that we can rely upon him to keep himself alive over the course of the next few months. Again, headlines from the Daily Beast. Trump, 79, spotted with bruise on his other hand. More makeup may be in order for the president. Daily Beast, Trump, 79, smears right hand in makeup amid cankle cover-up. The 79-year-old president has a glob of cover-up on his hand as he ventured out in Washington. Daily Beast again, Trump, 79, puts cankles on full display as he meets Putin. The president's health has been under scrutiny since he was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency. It's not the only thing that's insufficient related to Donald Trump. Just ask the rest of America, and also you can ask Stormy Daniels. And then finally, here's this one. And this isn't all of them. There are many, many more than that. I just didn't want to bore you with the headlines. Trump goes off deep end after MSNBC mocks Kankle cover-up. The Last Word host, Lawrence O'Donnell, noted how the president and White House are shielding Trump's swollen ankles. And that kind of leads us to the thesis here, to the question here. Do we have something to worry about? Look, I'm not worried if Donald Trump dies. There's a large part of me that looks forward to it, because then the long national nightmare that we've been facing since his first term and now continuing on at a heightened level will be over. That nightmare. You're not going to see me crying crocodile tears or feigning some kind of, oh, he was a good person. America owes a debt to the, he was, when someone dies, they get venerated. I don't think that'll happen here. Obviously, he'll be a martyr in the eyes of MAGA world. There will be conspiracy theories that abound in MAGA world, that this wildly unhealthy octogenarian, that something took him out. Oh, it'll be nonsense. But I guess the overarching question is, what's the reaction on the ground going to be? What's the reaction from the citizenry going to be? What's the reaction from different states, Republican states and their governors? What's it going to be? Who is going to be here to take up the mantle of Trumpism, of MAGA world? For my money, I think we are looking at a Pete Hegseth trying to get in there to be president of the United States. I don't see J.D. Vance having what it takes. Certainly, Stephen Miller doesn't have what it takes. Marco Rubio is too much of an ethical and moral weakling and a coward who has bent the knee and absolutely abandoned. He has fled. He has retreated from all of his previously held political positions that he acted so strident about. So I don't know. What do you think? This really is more of a let's have a conversation about this. But we need to prepare ourselves. Donald Trump very unlikely he makes it through this term. I think it's very unlikely he makes it through next year. It's likely he'll make it through this year. Hell, we've only got a couple of months left here, right?
He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator.
Donald Trump just finished a session of signing executive orders, a lot of them dictatorial in nature, trying to strip away your freedom of speech. I'm going to talk about that next. But before that, though, there was a moment where he talked about being a dictator, that he's not a dictator. But he also said that people are saying he's the president of Europe. So not only does he want to be a dictator over the United States, he wants to be viewed as the president of the world, of the planet. I don't know. And this all comes in front of the backdrop of Donald Trump invading the city of Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, a military occupation here in a safe city. Let's start with Donald Trump talking about dictators. And you need to know that not only are the masked secret police of Donald Trump, these thugs, these unidentified goons, they're not only arresting people just randomly, checking their IDs, getting off the metro here, Rhode Island Metro, the Fort Totten, here in DC. These are video I saw from this weekend. They're also arresting people for filming the police. All constitutionally guaranteed rights. And Donald Trump, the non-dictator, is seeing that this happens. First, let's hear him talk about dictators. Then we'll move on to him being president of Europe.
As you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person.
You're not a smart person. The only thing that was truthful in that is that you're a man, I guess. A weak one, an ineffectual one, but you're a man, right? A lot of people are saying they want a dictator. Who is saying they want a dictator? The same people that yammer on and scream at the top of their lungs, screeching about how we're a constitutional republic. Are those the people? We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. they all scream and wail while desiring a dictator. Are those the people, Donald Trump? Or is it the people of Europe, these same people that are saying they want a dictator? Are those the same, these very real, for sure real people? Are they in the room with you right now, Donald Trump? Those same people are also saying that you are the president of Europe.
Where they respect your president to a level that they jokingly call me the president of Europe. They call me the president of Europe, which is an honor. I like Europe and I like those people. They're good people. They're great leaders. And we've never had a case where 7 plus really 28, essentially 38 countries were represented here the other day. 38 European countries were represented. European and other countries were represented.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying they want a dictator. Nobody reasonable or rational. Maybe some MAGA idiots who are in the cult and view you as the untouchable dear leader. Maybe them. But their opinion wouldn't matter relative to who is the president of Europe. And again, all of this comes with Donald Trump planning to announcing with his stinky fucking hole under his nose, him announcing that next, on top of Washington, D.C., on top of the military invasion and occupation of D.C., it's going to be Chicago next. It's going to be Seattle next. It's going to be New York City next. It's going to be, name some other blue city in the United States. That's where he's going next. He's going to occupy, through military invasion, Baltimore, Los Angeles, other cities. Sounds dictatorial, does it not? Sounds like what we all expected because we know. Remember this headline from The Hill? This is October 16th, 2024. From, again, The Hill. Certain outlets and certain individuals who have given their opinion and have proven to be so wrong do not need to be looked at again for their opinion, for their expertise. Kamala's newest lie: Trump will send the army after you. That's the newest lie. This was Derek Hunter. Again, never to be, do not take anything that Derek Hunter says seriously ever again. He's basing this on some things that Kamala Harris said leading up to her kind of the wrap-up speech of her campaign that was given on the ellipse in front of the White House here in Washington, D.C., the same spot where Donald Trump dispatched the angry, armed MAGA mob to insurrect the Capitol. The same, they were trying to go for this thematic of metaphor of where she was, and this is how important, and this is how a leader should speak. And she recalled exactly what Donald Trump planned. And it is looking back, knowing what we know now. I mean, we knew it then, but we know it now because we were experiencing it. She was right about everything. Remember this moment.
America, that's who Donald Trump is. And that's who is asking you to give him another 4 years in the Oval Office. Not to focus on your problems, but to focus on his. And Donald Trump has told us his priorities for a second term. He has an enemies list of people he intends to prosecute. He says that one of his highest priorities is to set free the violent extremists who insulted those law enforcement officers on January 6th. Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. People he calls, quote, the enemy from within. America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
Where's she wrong about any of that? He's not going to focus on your problems, but he's going to focus on his. He has an enemies list of people that he intends to prosecute. He says that one of his highest priorities is set free the violent extremists who insulted those law enforcement officers, assaulted those law enforcement officers on January 6th. Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. Where's the lie? Every single one of those things happened. Donald Trump pardoned the 1,600 insurrectionists, the people who committed treason against their country on day one. He pardoned them. And he is using the military against the citizenry. And like she said, this is someone who is unstable, someone who is obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. But she didn't say that based on her own brilliance and psychic ability to look into the future. She said those things based on an interview that Donald Trump did just days before that with Maria Bartiromo. So I don't know what Derek Hunter is talking about. Donald Trump said it with his own mouth.
Are you expecting chaos on Election Day?
No, I don't think so. Not from the side that votes for Trump.
But I'm just wondering if these outside agitators will start up on Election Day. Let's say you win. I mean, let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You've got people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You've got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists.
Right.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful Election Day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of Election Day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
First, let's address the first part of that nonsense. Maria Bartiromo, in an effort, of course, Fox News, trying to gin up fear about chaos on Election Day, that people on the terrorist watch list would create chaos on Election Day, that murderers and rapists were going to be out there sowing discord on Election Day, that Chinese nationals were going to be out there causing chaos. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there you heard him. He said it. No, the enemy within is the more impressive, the more dangerous, the more pressing problem is the enemy from within, more important than the Chinese nationals and the terrorist watch list and the rapists and the murderers. The enemy from within. You, if you voted for Kamala Harris. Me, I'm the enemy from within. And he's going to use the military, and it should be very easily handled, he said, by, if necessary, by the National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. And here we are. Troops are in the streets of Washington, D.C. He's planning to dispatch them to Chicago, to L.A., to Baltimore, to Seattle, to New York City. She was right, based on what he said. And any conservative, any progressive commentators who told you Donald Trump had disavowed Project 2025. Don't listen to these people. They're just alarmists. Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. They wanted you to believe it wasn't that big of a deal. And now nearly 50% of Project 2025 is set into motion. So on both sides of this, don't trust those who were so far. Look, it's one thing to get shit wrong. I get shit wrong. But things that are so apparent, so glaringly obvious, if your job is to analyze these things and you get it that wrong, never to be trusted again. Never to be trusted again, whether it be Derek fucking Hunter or Cenk fucking Uygur and Anna Kasparian. Some things are just too self-evident to get wrong. including this.
Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech.
Donald Trump in the Oval Office talking about how a lot of people want a dictator. A lot of people say I'm the president of Europe. I guess he wants to be president of the world. He also thinks that his signature on an executive order makes null and void, makes moot a Supreme Court ruling from 1989. This clip, I feel like Stefan from Saturday Night Live. This clip has everything. It has him rambling about Joe Biden and how Joe Biden and Autopin and Joe Biden didn't even know if he was alive. It has Donald Trump not being able to explain his own executive orders like we're so used to. He calls out the nursemaid, Will Scharf, to explain, and then interrupts him, and then starts talking, and then goes back to Will. No, please, no, explain everything, because he has no idea what he's signing. All he knows is the same throw to talking points that he rambles on about. And in this clip, he thinks his signature on this executive order cancels out a Supreme Court case about flag burning. He's going to take away, through dictatorial rule, through a misunderstanding of what his powers are as a co-equal branch of government, that you are no longer allowed freedom of speech as identified by, as ruled on by, the Supreme Court of the United States. Not some state court, not a local municipal judge, we're talking about the Supreme Court. They're called Supreme for a reason, Donald Trump. Watch this rambling nonsense from our age-addled memory patient of a president trying to assert his control, his dictatorial rule over the rest of us about flag burning, which, whether you like it or not, is a constitutionally protected practice of political speech.
About nothing. That means that all those pardons that he gave to some very bad people, very unpatriotic people, very evil people, it looks to me like those pardons are worthless. Because number one, you shouldn't use an auto pen, very specifically. But if you do, it has to be a very good reason. And they have to know that the president wanted it. The president didn't want this. The president didn't know he was alive, okay? He never approved any of this stuff. He wasn't for open borders and all the other things. He was never for open borders. I've known Biden a long time. He was never very sharp, but he was never in favor of open borders and all of the other things he did to destroy our country. Let's go.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement.
Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately. Just like when I signed the statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it.
And first of all, let's address how Will Scharf, the nursemaid, explained what was contained in the executive order. That you're directing your DOJ to investigate instances of flag burning, and it sounds to me, through Nurse Will Scharf, through his explanation, that they'll try to find some other crime not related to the actual burning of the American flag to charge. That's what it sounded like to me. Because it is clear in a ruling from 1989 in Texas versus Johnson. Shocker that it was the state of Texas attempting to trample over someone's free speech rights, to use some fake love of the flag. We know these idiots to be faketriots. We know that they act like they stand for the Constitution, even though the Constitution protects free speech. These same people who act like they're free speech absolutists, they want to create carve-outs for the things they think are sacred. Burning a piece of cloth that is just iconography. It's a symbol. And that symbol, what is more strong and bold and confident than, yeah, we are the land of the free and the home of the brave. If you burn our symbol, that's how strong our country is. That's how strong the protections of free speech are in the Constitution, that even you can even destroy the symbol of the country. Is this next? If I burn this little booklet with words in it, is that also a crime, Donald Trump? Texas v. Johnson, 1989. It was involving a case where a guy, I think his name is Gregory Lee Johnson, he burned the American flag outside of the Republican National Convention in 1984 in protest of the first Donald Trump type, the first celebrity president, Ronald Reagan, who brought us to where we are now, who set the stage for Donald Trump, who started with the "we hate debt. Oh, we don't want a national debt. We need a small government," and then foisted upon generations of Americans exorbitant debt. The liar in chief, the hypocrite in chief, a Republican president. So this is from the courts, from the U.S. government website, explaining what the ruling was, that Donald Trump does not have authority to overturn, to undo, to create null and void, to make null and void. The majority of the court, according to Justice William Brennan, agreed with Johnson and held that flag burning constitutes a form of quote unquote symbolic speech that is protected by the First Amendment. The majority noted that freedom of speech protects actions that society may find very offensive, but society's outrage alone is not justification for suppressing free speech. In particular, the majority noted that the Texas law discriminated upon viewpoint, i.e., although the law punishes actions such as flag burning that might arouse anger in others, it specifically exempted from prosecution action that were respectful of venerated objects, e.g. burning and burying a worn-out flag. The majority said that the government could not discriminate in this manner based solely on viewpoint. It is stated, and it's been backed up time and time again. It is quintessentially political speech, which is specifically outlined as protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. It's a done deal. So if you're into it, if you're prone to, if you got a hankering to burn a flag, yeah, maybe go out there and prove Donald Trump's executive order to be bullshit, because that is what it is. It is absolutely within your rights. Political speech. And Donald Trump, as much as he wants to be a dictator, he's also just a liar and a faketriot as he molests the flag on stage. That's not respect of the flag. He can't even respect the oath that he took on multiple occasions to the Constitution of the United States. What would make you think he has actual respect for the flag or any of our other symbols? He's currently using our military against its illegal occupation of Washington, D.C. Posse comitatus, disregarding. Donald Trump is not the law and order president. He has no respect for the rule of law. He himself is a convicted felon, 34 felonies. And this is just another violation of his oath of office. Speaking of unlawful. What do you think? I would appreciate your participation in this conversation. What do you think? Look, again, just like Nazi salutes, he's not saying you're going to get a year in prison if you throw up a Nazi salute. That would cause too much problem for his compatriots. Too many problems for the Nazis who support him. Too many problems for the Elon Musk types who throw them up in front while standing in front of the presidential podium. Ugh. Sickening freaks. What do you think? Again, you can comment below the video wherever you're watching it. You can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I would love to hear from you. If you want to help support this work financially for $2 a month, you can do that. Help me produce this content. Click the join button below this video on YouTube, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. That's an actually better way to do it because they take way less money than YouTube or Facebook or any other platform where you do some crowdfunding for support. Donald Trump just fundamentally doesn't know when he was president. He thinks anything good that happens, he's responsible for, even though at that moment, he was busy trying to defend himself from all of the charges, federal charges against him. One of the strangest things that we face in this country right now relative to the Republican Party is that, look, we know Donald Trump has a hard time piecing together what is real and what is not, whether that be just general cognitive decline because he's an 80-year-old or something larger, more sinister. I don't know. It's hard to say. Probably some combination of the two. But what's extra strange and just flat out bizarre and dangerous is the fact that not only does Donald Trump not have any real grasp on reality, but his sycophants, his bootlickers, the lapdogs that he surrounds himself with, they have to act like they don't remember things as well. Up to and including when Donald Trump was president. Donald Trump woke up yesterday at about 10 a.m. and decided to fire off a Truth Social post about the Maryland governor, Wes Moore. And it's troubling for a host of different reasons, but chiefly, and what I want to talk about today is the fact that Donald Trump doesn't remember when the time span was that he was president of the United States. He thinks that he did things that Joe Biden did, things that fall squarely, the responsibility for, the credit goes to Joe Biden. Donald Trump takes credit for it. Donald Trump does the same thing with veterans policies and legislation that is passed. He thinks that what he did is, or that he thinks that the things that Barack Obama put into place, that he put into, it's a nightmare. So get a load of this post from Donald Trump. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland has asked in a rather nasty and provocative tone that I, quote, walk the streets of Maryland with him. I assume he is talking about out-of-control, crime-ridden Baltimore. First of all, Baltimore is in an even better position than Washington, D.C., relative to declining, plummeting crime rates. Donald Trump, again, just doesn't know what he's talking about related to anything. I assume he's talking about out-of-control, crime-ridden Baltimore. As president, I would much prefer that he clean up his crime, capital C, disaster, before I go there for a walk. Listen, this also comes right after Donald Trump promised he was going to patrol the streets with the cops and the military here in Washington, D.C., and he did nothing of the sort. He went with his heavily armed, tactically capable motorcade, drove across the river here in Washington, D.C., across the Anacostia River, and went to a fortified police station to give a little talk in a microphone, and then jumped back in his heavily armed motorcade and raced back to the White House to the safety and security. He didn't patrol anything. He didn't walk anywhere other than if it's from the car to the microphone and then from the microphone back to the car. We'll continue with his screed. Wes Moore's record on crime is a very bad one unless he fudges his figures on crime like many other quote-unquote blue states are doing. But if Wes Moore needs help, like Gavin Newsom did in L.A., I will send in the troops, quote-unquote. Are troops... Is it figurative? Why are you putting it in quotes, dipshit? We know you're stupid. We know you're mentally feeble, but come on. Which is being done in nearby D.C. and quickly clean up the crime. Okay, great. After only 1 week, there is no crime and no murder in D.C. There's no crime? Then what are you arresting people for? Wait. If there's no crime in D.C., what are the arrests? Are you arresting people who are not committing crimes? Kind of telling, Donald Trump. When it is like that in Baltimore, I will proudly walk the streets with the failing because of crime governor of Maryland. P.S. Oh, there's a postscript on his post on Truth Social. P.S., he says, Baltimore is ranked 4th worst city in the nation in crime and murder. Stop talking and get to work, Wes. I'll then see you on the streets. Man, this is so hard to read. And then, also, I gave Wes Moore a lot of money to fix his demolished bridge. I will now have to rethink that decision. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again, President DJT. The two things I want to talk about are Donald Trump's threats to rescind funding that he didn't appropriate, he didn't sign, he didn't give this emergency relief to the state of Maryland. Joe Biden did. But secondly, rescinding that funding to harm the state of Maryland and its Republicans. Maryland is not 100% Democrats. There are millions of Republicans. At the very least, hundreds of thousands of Republicans that Donald Trump is willing to sell out, to harm, because most of the people are Democrats. The other thing is I gave Wes Moore a lot of money to fix his demolished bridge. Donald Trump didn't give Wes Moore or the citizens of America who reside in Maryland, he didn't give them a fucking thing. Donald Trump wasn't president of the United States when the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed, when it was collided, when it was smashed into by a tanker, by a freighter, by a cargo ship. It was Joe Biden. In fact, here's from a government website, the Department of Transportation, March 28th, 2024. Biden-Harris administration announces $60 million for emergency work in wake of collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. $60 million in quick release emergency funds are a down payment on Maryland's initial costs for emergency repairs, design, and reconstruction of the bridge. And some of you might be out there who are intrepid and understand, well, that was only the down payment. That's only $60 million. It's certainly going to cost more than that to rebuild that bridge in today's dollars. And you'd be correct. Donald Trump wasn't involved, though. This is from the Baltimore Banner. Biden signs bill that averts government shutdowns, includes key bridge funding. The spending bill also included a promise of full funding to rebuild Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. Securing that money was a top priority of Maryland members of Congress, as well as Governor Wes Moore. So Donald Trump just fundamentally doesn't know when he was president. He thinks anything good that happens, he's responsible for, even though at that moment, he was busy trying to defend himself from all of the charges, federal charges against him for absconding from the White House, stealing highly sensitive, top secret national security secrets and having them at Mar-a-Lago. That's what he was busy doing. So maybe he just forgot because he has a lot going on. Cognitive load is a serious deal, you know. But it's not just Donald Trump who forgets who was president when. Here's Ron DeSantis from over the weekend talking about how Biden screwed him over, and they're considering doing this whole anti-democratic gerrymandering now, a la Texas. And he's blaming Joe Biden for the districting that was done based on the 2020 census. We'll get to that, but here's Ron DeSantis.
Congressional map. Florida has been growing. It's been growing a lot since I've been governor, but even before that, it was adding population, not at the same rate. And we got shortchanged in the last census. We should have had 2 or 3 seats. We only got 1 seat, and that was really the Biden administration's doing. So we are working with the Attorney General in Florida, James Uthmeyer, to talk to the Commerce Department. He's written a letter. Even Biden's administration a couple years after acknowledged Florida got shortchanged. So we're asking them to redo that as best they can, award us another seat. That would obviously trigger us have to do a new map if we went from 28 to 29 or even to 30.
You got shortchanged in the last census, you say? Ron DeSantis? Trump bootlicker? Trump sycophant? Trump lapdog? Love it. Love it. That's ball bag. Yeah. Who was president? Pray tell, please, someone help me. It's very difficult for me. I have a cognitive decline, apparently, just like Donald Trump. I don't remember who was president in 2020. Well, I know who was president on January 6, 2021, the insurrection against the country, where Donald Trump incited a mob to try to overthrow the United States government in order to stay in power based on the election he had just lost. So that was 2021. So 2020, I just did the math. Donald Trump was president in 2020. Donald Trump was president when that census took place. Donald Trump was the president when those numbers were secured that predicated redistricting. So Ron DeSantis, dipshit, trying to blame Joe Biden for the census is hilarious. And again, it just shows there's no dignity. There's no shame to be found among Republicans. What they do, they need to back Donald Trump's play, even if that means making idiots of themselves. Even if that means just a dignity-free performance, or being able to speak English performance, a lack thereof for me. It's a dignity-free performance from Republicans at every time there's a camera on them, anytime they're asked to defend Donald Trump, anytime they're asked to try to be leaders in this moment, they're incapable. Anyway, somebody out there, just try to get some grasp on history in the Republican Party, even if it's the most basic things like dates, names and dates, the dry parts of history that people hate so much, the memorization. Maybe that's the problem. There's just a cognitive deficit umbrella that covers the Republican Party, as though it matters one single iota how much weight you can bench or how athletic you are relative to being a politician, relative to being a political leader. To call the mayor's race currently in New York City chaotic is really not doing it justice. It is just a chef's kiss of desperation. And I don't mean on the part of Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani is the leader we need for these times. He's a guy who is unintimidatable. Is that a word? He is unable to be intimidated. He knows what his strengths are. He knows what his weaknesses are, and he's ready to lead. And you've got on the other side of this race, you've got Trump ally Andrew Cuomo and Trump ally Eric Adams, both who have sufficiently bent the knee and kissed the asshole of Donald Trump, both ostensibly Democrats, both predators, both criminals. I mean, it's just... And then you got Zohran Mamdani on the other side of things, promising to make the lives of New Yorkers better, promising through policy, through government action, doing what the government is designed to do. And they can't handle it. And MAGA is so furiously frothing at the mouth against Zohran Mamdani that they're supporting Andrew Cuomo. I mean, it makes sense. They love their sexual predators, so Andrew Cuomo's there. But the reason I say it's getting ridiculous, I'm kind of ranting here. The reason I say it's getting ridiculous is because there was like Men's Day or Man's Day. I don't know. I don't follow New York politics that closely to know the ins and outs of what the events are. But Zohran Mamdani got down on a bench to do a bench press because, I don't know, that's the world we live in now, I guess. And he didn't fare well. He wasn't putting up massive weight, and he's being mocked for it by the right wing and by Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams, as though it matters one single iota how much weight you can bench or how athletic you are relative to being a politician, relative to being a political leader. I mean, we can just set aside how not athletic Donald Trump is and has ever been. We can set that aside, right? It's pretty obvious. But let me share this video with you so we're all on the same page so you understand what I'm talking about. And then we're going to get to a tweet from both Andrew Cuomo and dipshit Eric Adams. Watch this.
This is how you move up in the polls. This is how you move up in the polls. Yeah. This is how you move up in the polls. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah. Let me get one more. Let me get three. Let me get three. Let me get three. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the reason I said he's confident, Zohran Mamdani, is because who cares? Who cares if he can put up a bunch of weight? Oh, yeah, that's a requisite. That's a qualifier. I'm really showing that I'm going to be a good mayor by benching 135 pounds however many times. Andrew Cuomo took to Twitter and he said this: "It's easy to talk. It's hard to carry the burden. This guy can't bench his own body weight, let alone carry the weight of leading the most important city in the world. Who cares? Who cares how much weight he can or cannot bench?" Seriously, who cares? This was Eric Adams, who also put weight up on the bench, apparently, was there. He tweeted this along with a video of him benching. Same guy holding the weight as a spotter. Same guy holding the bar for Eric Adams, who was holding the bar for Zohran Mamdani. Like Eric Adams is some kind of some monster athlete. 64 versus 33, a lifetime of hard work versus a silver spoon. The results speak for themselves. The weight of the job is too heavy for Ma'am Scrawny. Just trying to be Trump, huh, Eric Adams? You fascist bootlicker. Like, anybody thinks you're strong or bold or even able to defy the fascist in the White House? Please, coward. The only thing he can lift is your taxes. Well, let's do this. Let's talk about some leaders who can or cannot bench their own weight, or could not bench their own weight. One, of course, I said we'd set him aside, but we're not going to. Donald Trump. You think Donald Trump can bench his own weight? You think Donald Trump can bench that weight? Donald Trump can't bench 100 pounds below his own weight. What's he weigh? 230, 240, 250? Please. Donald Trump's golfing. Donald Trump is covering his hands in ladies' makeup because he's so bold and a fearsome athlete? Is that what? Or we can go back even further into history and other people who are renowned as solid leaders, people who saved the republic during economic uncertainty, to put it mildly. FDR. He was notoriously not super athletic, notoriously bound to a wheelchair. Seems he was able to lead the nation out of economic catastrophe, global catastrophe. Seems like he was able to do that. And not only that, statues are erected to him in his wheelchair. So look, ultimately it's this. Focus on what is important. Don't get bogged down in the distractions. Eric Adams is a distraction. Andrew Cuomo is a distraction. Both of these individuals, one is working directly with Donald Trump, coordinating on what he should do and how he should comport himself as a candidate for mayor, Andrew Cuomo. And the other has already bent the knee and is assisting Donald Trump in his mass deportation effort. And the reason he did is because he got himself out of all of the legal problems, the felonies that he was facing, and that case went away. So who do you want? Someone who actually cares but can't lift a bunch of weight? Who fucking cares about that? You want things done for you, or do you want... I mean, it is so beyond parody that this is where we are in politics in America. And this, I'll end with this. Like, I know I'm kind of all over the place here. I'll end with it. This is why you need someone who is confident. Confidence doesn't mean you're strong, muscle strong, and can do a bunch of weightlifting. Confidence is knowing you're not a weightlifter, still getting up there, having fun with the crowd, and knowing it doesn't matter. He's not trying to be some kind of a muscle man, because it doesn't fucking matter how much weight you lift. You think J.D. Vance is throwing up a bunch of weight? Not any of these idiots. Anyway, we don't need to make these comparisons because it's so clearly unimportant for the job.
Donald Trump sees himself as the person who gets to decide everything. And he doesn't care about any separation.
Talk about tired, low energy. Donald Trump over the weekend, this was yesterday evening, he went on Truth Social and started rambling about Chris Christie's appearance on This Week on ABC, and he's giving everyone the same nickname and making fun of Jonathan Karl's hair. I mean, it's just the weaker Donald Trump gets mentally, physically, health-wise, the more decline that we see, the lazier he is, or the sheer lack of ability to be Donald Trump that we've come to know is just gone. Look, I don't care about the name calling. It's just, who cares? It doesn't, for me, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's outside of the norms of being president. But to witness where Donald Trump was versus where he is now, he's a slumped, weak, makeup on his hands, just gushy, swollen, squishy cankles on his feet. It's just, we're in trouble with this. But he posted this on Truth Social. I just watched sloppy Chris Christie be interviewed on a ratings challenged news show this week with George Slopadopoulos. So it's sloppy Chris Christie, sloppy George Slopadopoulos on ABC Fake News. By the way, what the hell in quotes? It's just a nightmare here, everybody. What the hell happened to Jonathan Karl's hair? He looks absolutely terrible. It's amazing what bad ratings on a failed television show that was forced to pay me $16 million can do to one's appearance. So it's sloppy Chris Christie, sloppy George Slopadopoulos, and Jonathan Karl, who, by the way, looked exactly like Jonathan Karl. His hair is ridiculous and he looks terrible. This guy is bitching about people's hair. Can anyone believe anything that sloppy Chris says? Do you remember the way he lied about the dangerous and deadly closure of the George Washington Bridge in order to stay out of prison, at the same time sacrificing people who worked for him, including a young mother who spent years trying to fight off the vicious charges against her? Chris refuses to take responsibility for these criminal acts for the sake of justice. Donald Trump is talking about justice. Perhaps we should start looking at the very serious situation again. Now he's threatening criminal prosecution. No one is above the law. Donald Trump saying no one is above the law. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. You might ask yourself, what is it that spurred this devolution of Donald Trump, this taking steps back, this cognitive failure and implosion? It was this. Chris Christie, of all the moments, all the things that he said, this has to be the moment that set Donald Trump off and sent him spiraling, regressing. Watch this.
Let me play something for both of you that J.D. Vance had to say about this on Friday.
Well, so we're in the very early stages of an ongoing investigation into John Bolton. I will say we're going to let that investigation proceed. We're investigating Ambassador Bolton, but if they ultimately bring a case, it will be because they determine that he has broken the law. We're going to be careful about that. We're going to be deliberate about that because we don't think that we should throw people, even if they disagree with us politically, maybe especially if they disagree with us politically. You shouldn't throw people willy-nilly in prison.
So Chris, I counted 3 times where he used the word we. We are in the very early stages. We are investigating. We are going to be deliberate. We?
Yeah, sure.
What does the vice president have a role in a criminal investigation?
Constitutionally, not to the best of my knowledge. But look, let's face it. The president said earlier in that video you showed, you didn't show this piece, where he said he's the chief federal law enforcement officer in the United States. Donald Trump sees himself as the person who gets to decide everything. And he doesn't care about any separation. In fact, he absolutely rejects the idea that there should be separation between criminal investigations and the politically elected leader of the United States. This is much different than it's ever been run before. But look, let me say candidly to the American people who are watching, you were told this. You were told that this was what he was going to do. And not by me, by Donald Trump. During the 2024 campaign, he told you he was going to do this, that he was going to have a Justice Department that acted as his personal legal representation. And that is what they're doing.
Well, Chris Christie's right. Finally, Chris Christie is right. Once you get jettisoned from the inner circle, from the orbit of Donald Trump, then all of a sudden they find their moral compass. Strange how that works. Finally, Chris Christie is saying the thing that we knew all along, that he should have known the whole time while he was assisting in the transition of the first administration. He should have known. When he volunteered to head Donald Trump's transition the first time, we all knew what Donald Trump was. He should have known too. Welcome to the resistance, Chris Christie. Thank you. We appreciate you very much. And your allyship with Donald Trump isn't going to save you. He's now threatening to open another criminal investigation into something that is already settled. Dictator talk. Donald Trump doesn't. Everything Chris Christie said was true. It just took a long time coming, I guess. Anyway, we are witnessing the implosion of Donald Trump, the rapid, serious cognitive decline of Donald Trump, the low energy, the napping during meetings where he's the one who's supposed to be speaking. It's a tight spot that we're finding ourselves in. All while Donald Trump's masked secret police are out there arresting American citizens for filming them, brown people, off the streets, disappearing them to who knows where, being arrested by who knows who, from who knows what organization. So again, welcome, Chris. We appreciate it very much. You finally found a little moral ability there. What do you think? I welcome you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work in independent media. There are multiple ways you can do it. You can click the join button below this video on YouTube to become a channel member. You can clickety-clack your browser over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. You can go to dollemore.com and buy a t-shirt or a mug or a tote, some kind of merch. All that goes a long way. We're also selling a children's book about gratitude, and you can learn about that right here. Many of you are aware that my dear friend and brother of choice, not of blood, Brett McAfee, suffered a near-fatal medical emergency last summer while our families were on vacation in Scotland. I appreciate to no end the outpouring of support for Brett that you all gave. And I'm also very happy to report that he is safe and healing and working that long path of recovery. What I've probably not told you about Brett is that beyond being an excellent friend, he's also a talented writer. We have been the best of friends since we were kids, and I have been continually inspired by his creativity and by the truly singular take that he has on life. Over 2 decades ago, he wrote a poem called The Grateful Child. It's an acknowledgement of all the simple strengths that we tend to overlook. Written from the perspective of a young person, multiple grateful children express gratitude to their parents for the elements that make them who they are. The accounting of these everyday gifts inspires a clear reminder that we should not take anything for granted. I've shared Brett's remarkable poem with numerous people over the years, and a reoccurring response is that this should be a book. Well, we finally decided to listen to those people. The Grateful Child is not only a children's book for adults in your life, it's also an adult's book for children in your life. Everyone will appreciate its straightforward yet elegant celebration of life's little endowments. Click the link below to pre-order now, or simply scan this QR code and order your copy or copies today. But this being an illustrated book, we could not survive on the words alone. To pair with Brett's touching words, we searched all over for an illustrator who could bring The Grateful Child to visual life. We landed on somebody right here in the community from this show. Leah Farshid is an internationally acclaimed illustrator who, like you, is also an audience member. The moment we saw the first images that Leah drew to accompany Brett's text, we knew we had a perfect combination. It brings me tremendous joy to share my best friend's beautiful poem and Leah's spectacular images with the world. Everyone can benefit from The Grateful Child, just as I benefit from Brett's lifelong friendship. Share this beautiful book with your children. Share it with your parents or other relatives. The Grateful Child is an easy and exceptional way to show appreciation for someone in your life, young or old. Support someone you love and support this channel by giving The Grateful Child. Click the link below to pre-order now, or simply scan this QR code. I am pretty sure your children need a copy. And your mom, your nieces and your nephews, your Grandpa Charlie too. Don't forget Grandpa Charlie. I think he'd love this. Make The Grateful Child a part of your life. It has been such an excellent part of mine.